Okay guys, so this week we are going to look at equations, and we're also going to look at inequations or inequalities, okay? Equations should be okay, this should just be revision, but I'm going right back to basics, and when you're doing the textbook work, okay, and I'll talk to you about this in the live lesson on Monday as well, if you make it, you might not feel you need to do a huge amount of exercise 1 in particular, okay? Exercise 2 I would definitely do, and 3, and then you'll be moving on to exercise 6, which I would expect you to do all of, okay? But exercise 1 in particular, you might feel you can miss out, but it's there just for practice if we need to. Now, we're just going to go back all the way to the beginning very quickly and do 2 examples that are like the work in exercise 1, just to remind you of how we set this work out. Okay, in fact, we're probably going to do 3 examples, guys, okay? So, what do I mean by an equation? We mean something that looks like this. So, x plus 12 equals 15. Or 3 plus x equals 7. Or 10b equals 40. Something like that, okay? Now, these should all be nice and straightforward for you to solve, okay? So with this first one, we're looking at getting x on its own. In order to do that, we need to do something with that positive 12, that plus 12. We do the opposite, so we take it away from both sides, which leaves us with x equals 3, okay? With this one, we've got effectively x plus 3 equals 7, so we do the opposite, we take that 3 away from both sides to leave us with x equals 4. And those are probably questions that you can just write down the answer to, and that would be fine. In 3, 10b equals 40. Now remember, 10b means 10 times b, so we're going to divide by b, and we get divide by 10, sorry, and we get b equals 4. So if all of that was really straightforward for you, then don't worry about exercise 1, okay? You don't need to consider that. But what you probably will need to think about and spend a little bit more time on, that's, question 1 and 2 of exercise 1, okay, but question 3, I think we'll all need just a wee reminder of. So, I'll do a couple of examples like question 3, first of all. So, let's call these examples 4 and 5. And this is where we've got work like 3y plus 7 equals 22, or where we might have something like 8z take away 9 equals 71. Okay, so this is what we call a two-step equation or a multi-step equation. Okay, and this becomes a wee bit trickier to solve because we've got more steps. Now, some of you are not very good at showing your work in the way I would want you to. When we get to the harder equations, which is exercise 2, that I need everybody to do this week, okay, you're going to see why this method is important. Okay, so first thing we identify is the plus 7 or the minus 9 here. Okay, it's the first thing that we identify as being an issue. Okay, and from there we're going to take away the 7 from both sides because we're doing the opposite. That leaves me with 3y equals 22 take away 7. We can do it as a chimney sum if we need to. 3y equals 15. Now it just looks like question 3 there. Okay, 3y equals 15. We're going to divide by 3. Okay, to give us y equals 5. Same with this next one. We've got 8z take away 9 equals 71. So the first thing we do is the opposite. We're going to add 9. So we have 8z equals 80. Then it's 8z, that means 8 times z. So we're going to divide by 8, which would then give us z equals 10. Okay, so that would be question 3 on exercise 1, guys, and that is something I do want you to at least do a couple of the columns of, just to practice and to make sure that you are setting it out properly. Okay, now from there, okay, we move on to exercise 2 and exercise 3. Now these are trickier. Okay, these are definitely trickier exercises. Okay, so we're going to do 3 examples like exercise 2, okay? Then we'll do another few like exercise 3, and then we'll get on to the actual inequality bit. Okay, so exercise 2 is where we have things like 3y plus 5 equals y plus 17, say. Okay, now what we always should look for is our smaller letter here. So this is a 3y, this is a 1y. So the 1y is smaller, so we're going to deal with that first. And we're going to take that 1y away. Okay, now when we do that, 3y take away that 1y gives me 2y. And then I've got plus 5. Y take away y is 0, which is good. So we're left with 17. And now you can see why I was encouraging you to write your answers to these questions like that. Because now we're doing the exact same again. We're going to take away the 5 from both sides. We're doing the opposite of that plus 5 to give me 2y is 12. And 2y means 2 times y. So we're going to do the opposite. We're going to divide by 2 to give y equals 6. Okay, and that's where we need to be. Let's just do one more example of that just to check that we're okay. So if we had, say, 6x minus 3 equals 4x plus 11. Okay, which one's smaller? Your 4x is smaller, so we're going to take that away from both sides. That's going to give us 2x minus 3 equals 11. From there, that minus 3 is what we want to change. So we're going to add the 3 because that's the opposite. So we get 2x equals 14. And then the final step, 2 times x. So we do the opposite. We divide by 2 to give x equals 7. Okay, guys? Now, very occasionally, okay, you'll get something that might look a little bit different, like this one here. So if we had, for instance, 3y, let's go for 13y actually, minus 24 equals y. Let's go for 7y. Okay, now the smaller y here is the 7y. So if we take that 7y away from both sides, which is what we would normally do, we would get 6y minus 24 equals, now we just had the letter on the side, we didn't have a number, so 7y take away 7y gives me 0. So question 3 on page 173, all of your questions there are going to look a little bit like this, okay? How would we deal with that? Well, in the same way, we're still going to add the 24 to both sides next. So we get 6y equals positive 24 now. And then we divide by 6, which gives us y equals 4. So we always should be making this equation look simpler as we go down. And we always should be using this kind of opposites process. Okay. Now, the final thing is to introduce brackets when we're doing equations before we look at inequalities. Okay, so let's just do a couple of brackety questions. Okay, so we'll call these 4 and 5. Okay, so question 4, we're going to have 8 bracket 2x minus 3 equals, let's go for 24. Okay, so the first thing to do, guys, is to multiply out the bracket. So 8 times 2x is 16x. 8 times 3 is 24, and it's a minus, so we'll have minus 24. Okay, and then from there it just looks like an equation that you're used to solving. So you add the 24 to both sides. We get 16x equals 48. Now the numbers are a wee bit bigger here. You might not know what 48 divided by 16 is. At this point I would probably tell you to pick up a calculator. But actually it's quite easy. It's 3. Okay, so you need to just be careful with that idea and make sure that you pay attention to the ones with brackets. It's no different. You've just got that extra wee step of multiplying out the bracket, okay? And if that proves too much for you, then miss out that exercise and go on to the inequations ones, okay? And you could get a bracket question that's got a letter on the other side as well. So something like this, you could have something like 5 bracket 2x minus 3, okay, equals 6x, say, okay. No, it's not going to work. Let me just change that, guys, sorry. Let's go for 5x. There we go. Oh, different colour, but never mind. So, multiply out the brackets. We get 10x minus 15 equals 5x. Okay. Going to take away the 5x from both sides, which is going to give us 5x minus 15 equals 0. And then go from there like we would normally. You're going to add the 15 to both sides. So 5x equals 15. And then divide both sides by 5 to give x equals 3. Okay. Now the whole point in doing all that is to actually, the reason we're doing that revision, okay, the most important exercise this week is the inequalities exercise, the inequalities exercise, which is exercise 6, okay? Now, an inequality looks no different from an equation, okay, or an inequation looks no different from an inequation, apart from it will look like this. Something like x plus 3 is less than 20, or something like 2x minus 4 is greater than 5. Okay, or you might have 3x is less than or equal to 12. Okay, or you might have 10y is greater than or equal to 3, say. Okay, so these are all called inequations or inequalities because instead of an equal sign, we've got one of these other symbols. So we have less than. Okay, we have greater than, and these should all be symbols that you recognise, but you've maybe not thought about them for a while. We've got less than or equal to. That's why it's got the 2 lines to try and make it look like an equal sign as well. And then obviously this one is greater than or equal to. Okay. Now, we can be asked to solve an inequality or an inequation. Oh, that's me getting my words confused because I'm talking and writing at the same time. Greater than or equal to. And we just do the exact same, guys. The only difference is you're working with a different symbol down the middle, and what you need to make sure is that you do not change that symbol. Okay, so one of the common ways that people make mistakes with these questions is they change the symbol because you're so used to doing equals. Okay, so we're just going to do 4 examples, getting progressively harder. Okay, and you'll see what I mean by this. So we could have something like y plus 8 is less than 10. We could have something like 9m is greater than or equal to 45. We could have something like 3x minus 1 is greater than 32. Or we could have something like 2 bracket 4x plus 3 is less than or equal to 22. Okay, guys, so these are all still like equations. They're just called inequations or inequalities because the symbol's different, but what we're going to do is not going to change. So we've got a plus 8. We're going to do the opposite. We're going to take away 8. Okay, so that'll leave us just with y on this side. It'll leave us with 2 on that side, and we put that less than symbol in there. We don't put an equal sign in there. Next one, 9m, we're going to divide by 9 to get rid of that times and by 9. So we get m and we get 5, but we put that greater than or equal to symbol in there rather than just an equals. Here, we've got 2 steps with this next one. Okay, so add the 1 first of all to both sides. So we get 3x and we get 33, but we've got a greater than symbol rather than equals. And then from there, 3x, we do the opposite. We divide by 3 rather than that times by 3. And that's going to leave me with x and 11. And again, we keep that greater than symbol rather than changing it to an equals. And this final idea, we would have 8x plus 6 is less than or equal to 22. When we multiply at the bracket, we've not changed anything. From there, we would be taking away that 6 first of all. So we would have 8x and we would have 16. And again, it's less than or equal to, that's the symbol we're using this time. And then we divide by 8 and we get x is less than or equal to 2. Hopefully that helps. I will be live with you on Monday this week, so I can go over that. If you get stuck at any other point though, just post it up on the team or on Satchel One or email me, and I will help you as soon as I can when I'm not teaching. When some of you are in school this week, and so you'll be working with maths teachers who can help you with this as well if you've got maths on your timetable. Okay.